Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate 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 Vasudevaya.
Continuing, taking shelter from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter second chapter, text 7. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Dhyana Jatya Subhairakyam Jnana Chayadaitukam. Translation. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Purport. Those who consider devotional service of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna to be something like material emotional affairs may argue that in the revealed scriptures, sacrifice, charity, austerity, knowledge, mystic powers and similar other processes of transcendental realization are recommended. According to them, bhakti or devotional service of the Lord is meant for those who cannot perform the high-grade activities. Generally, it is said that the bhakti cult is meant for the sudras, vaishyas, and less intelligent women class. But that is not the actual fact. The bhakti cult is the topmost of all transcendental activities, and therefore it is simultaneously sublime and easy. It is sublime for the pure devotee who are serious about getting in contact with the Supreme Lord, and it's easy for the neophytes who are just on the threshold of the house of bhakti. It is a great science to achieve the contact of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and it is open for all living beings, including the sudras, vaishyas, women, or even those lower than the sudras, who are called low-born. So what to speak of the high-class men like the qualified brahmanas and the great self-realized kings? The other high-grade activities designated as sacrifice, charity, austerity, etc. are all corollary factors following the pure and scientific bhakti cult. The principles of knowledge and detachment are two important factors on the path of transcendental realization. The whole spiritual process leads to perfect knowledge of everything material and spiritual, and the result of such perfect knowledge are that one becomes detached from material affection and becomes attached to spiritual activities. Becoming detached from material things does not mean becoming inert altogether, as men with poor fund of knowledge think. Nice karma means not undertaking such activities that will produce good or bad effects. Negation does not mean negation of the positive. Negation of the non-essential does not mean negation of the essential. Similarly, detachment from material forms does not mean nullifying the positive form. The bhakti cult is meant for realization of the positive form. When the positive form is realized, the negative forms are automatically eliminated. Therefore, with the development of the bhakti cult, with the application of the positive service to the positive form, one naturally becomes detached from inferior things, and he becomes attached to superior things. Similarly, the bhakti cult, being the supermost occupation of the living being, leads him out of material sense enjoyment. That is the sign of a pure devotee. He is neither a fool, nor is he engaged in the inferior energies, nor does he have material values. That is not possible. This is not possible by dry reasoning. It actually happens by the grace of the Almighty. In conclusion, one who is a pure devotee has all other good qualities, namely knowledge, detachment, etc. But one who has only knowledge or detachment is not necessarily well acquainted with the principles of the bhakti cult. Bhakti is the supermost occupation of the human being. Mukam karoti vatalam bhangam langate grimyat kripatamam mande Shri Gurum Dina Charanam Vanchikalpa Tirupyascha Kripasinvi Vacha Pachitanam Pavanvyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Jnanat Yat Yashu Vairagyam Jnanat Chayat Ahaitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. So Prabhupada speaks in the purport about that it's some people will declare that Bhakti Yoga path is easy, so it cannot be so advanced. And it's for neophytes and lower class people. But we know Bhakti is the highest path of all of them. It is true, it is easy to some degree. It is easy to some degree to perform Bhakti when compared to all other processes. Krita Yadhyayato Vishnum. In Krita Satya Yuga, the process of devotional service or spiritual realization was meditation and austerity. And we know from Bhagavatam that was severe austerities the yogis were performing, living in bushes full of all kind of thorns and all living, practically standing all day and night in the ice cold water, just meditating, living with fires around you and the sun above you, so just performing severe austerities. And we know people were living how long in Satya Yuga? 100,000 years. So they were performing austerities practically for 100,000 years, and they did not achieve a fraction of what is available in this age. So that was in Satya Yuga. Krita Yadhyayato Vishnum Tritayam Yadhyato Makahai. And in Trita Yuga it was sacrifices, yagyas. It was performing fire sacrifices. So it was sit all day and just perform sacrifices. And in Dwarapa it was it was deity worship. And Kali Tattari Kirtanat. In Kali Yuga it is Kirtan. It's Kirtan. So it's true, Kirtan is somewhat easy. It's just 3 different names in the Mahamantra, easy to learn. And everyone can chant. Prabhupada says even a child, and he gave the example of little Saraswati. She would go to people when there were a festival or something, a lot of people in the temple, she would go and, do you know who is Krishna? So this little girl, 5 years, 6 years old, she would go and she would be preaching. And she would be chanting the Mahamantra. So it's Bhakti is easy, but as Prabhupada mentioned here, it's also sublime. So it gives the highest benefit, but with a somewhat easy process. That only do it need is chanting. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha. Prabhupada says here, Bhagavatam says, Bhagavatam Prayojitaha, just by engaging in devotional service, being applied, Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha, Bhakti Yoga being applied, Vasudeva Bhagavati, Bhagavati unto Vasudeva. Just as being applied, what happens immediately? Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha, Jnana Yad Yashu, immediately Vairagyam. Immediately detachment from the world. And we may argue, well, I'm not so detached. Still so many attachments to the material world. So is Bhagavatam wrong? No, Ashu, very quickly detachment. And we can see we do have a detachment from what we used to be. Anyone attracted when they walk through next to a McDonald's and smell what comes from there? But we used to have that kind of taste. Going to cinemas, going to casinos or whatever, nightclubs. No taste there anymore, right? No taste. I wouldn't even dream of, even if they paid me, I wouldn't go into a nightclub. No taste. So, to some degree, we have attained a parangdristva, a higher taste. So it comes by bhakti. The purification of the heart is happening by the daily chanting, and we gradually give up the lower taste. So then again, why does it Bhagavatam say Ashu? Why does it immediately? Or very soon? What is this very soon? Compared to how many lives we've been in this kind of life, being so attracted to the lower grade activities just mentioned. We've been there for maybe millions of lifetimes. So now in this lifetime, and for most of us in the middle of, practically in the middle of this life, we turn to Krishna consciousness. So very soon, just one lifetime, and we can be completely detached. Vairagyam, as an immediate side effect of Bhakti Yoga. Vairagyam, Jnana Chat Ahai to come. And what happens else? Causeless knowledge. So what is this knowledge? Of course, knowledge of Krishna, Vijnana. And why is it causeless? Because we can't really do anything to deserve it. So it's just Krishna's causeless mercy giving us causeless knowledge. And that's why Prabhupada ends the purport here by saying the devotees here all this knowledge. Here's all the good qualities. Qualities and knowledge is the same. Because realized knowledge is really qualities. That's the difference. Gyan, just normally Gyan, it's just having knowledge. But Vijnana becomes qualities. It becomes something you live. It's not just something theoretical. Yashasti Bhakti Bhagavatya Kinchana Yashasti Bhakti Bhagavatya Kinchana Savai Gunas Tatra Samashate Suraha Harau Abhaktasya Kuto Mahatguna Manorati Davati Bhavatu Bahi. Maybe a little wrong in the last line here. Yashasti Bhakti Bhagavatya Kinchana, that the devotee immediately develop all the good qualities of the demigods. So also means getting the knowledge of the demigods. Maybe not to the same degree, but we get that knowledge. And you Bhakta walking into the temple, after a few weeks he knows more than a bishop or a priest or a pope. Because they don't even have that, they haven't even realized or understood, or maybe even have knowledge of they are not the body. And something, what happens after death? Yeah, they will go somewhere, but they don't know who that God is. Well, it's just God, some man in the sky, or something. Very, very meek understanding of who is God. But immediately here, a bhakta comes into the temple, we read Krishna book at night. Right? Krishna is dancing with the gopis, having fun with his boyfriends, and having fun with his family and all the inhabitants of the Vrindavan Vasis. Immediately he comes into the temple, he gets this knowledge, the highest knowledge. What is it? Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam. It's a secret. Raja Vidya, this highest knowledge. When Krishna speaks about pure devotional service, he says it's Guhyam. It's confidential. You shouldn't preach it, he says in the 18th chapter in the end. You shouldn't preach it to people who are not severe and not austere and not detached from the material world. Because they will misunderstand and then they will criticize and they will make offenses. But a bhakta coming into the temple, he's told all this. He's told Krishna is dancing with the gopis and all alone with the gopis at night and all these things. The most confidential knowledge that practically no one else has. It's only Bhakti Mam Abhijnanati Yavan Yaschasmi Tatvataha Tato Mam Tatvato Gyadva Visate Taranantanam. That Krishna says there's only one way to get to know me. No other way. It's only through bhakti. And here it says Vasudeva Bhakti, Bhakti Yoga Prayotita. Just by applying this Bhakti Yoga Prayotita, just by applying this, immediately you get all this. Immediately you get detachment from this material world. To some degree it's a gradual process. And you get causeless knowledge. Krishna just bestow you this knowledge. And it says in the Chatusloka, Tesam Satsatanyam Yuktanam Bhatitam Pritipurvakam Tadami Buddha Yogam Tam Yenamam Upanyantati. To those who are devoted to serving me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So Krishna gives it practically for free. That's costless. But we have to do our part. If we're not doing that, then Krishna will not give the costless mercy. It's costless mercy and it's costless knowledge. But he gives it as we surrender unto him. He reciprocates. Yatamam papatanti. Krishna reciprocates as we surrender unto him. Or surrender unto his pure devotee. We just sang for Tulsi Devi. Yitu manas saranaloy tadavancha punaho. So for one who is surrendering unto Tulsi Devi, serving Tulsi Devi, tadavancha punaho, all desires are immediately fulfilled. So what is that desire? Kripa Kori, this is difficult without the melody, huh? Kripa Kori, Kodotari, Vrindavani Vasi. Kripa Kori, she makes him a Vrindavan Vasi, an inhabitant of Vrindavan by Kripa, by her mercy. So by all this, Krishna is giving all these advanced processes that are easy to perform, but give us the highest result. Even higher than serving Krishna is serving Tadhiya, those who are dear to Krishna, like Tulsi Devi and the spiritual master. Because the spiritual master, he's always engaged in the topics of Radha and Krishna, so he has gotten the causeless knowledge. Tadvidi pranipatema pariplasnina sevaya upadakshanti te galam gyaninas tatvadashina. So he has given this causeless knowledge by the Lord. He's already been through the process that we are starting on now. So because he has given this process, Krishna through him as a via media, he chaitadharpanamata, he purifies our heart by following that process. So the spiritual master has realized this knowledge, so he can easily give it to you. It's like transferring, like giving you a gift. You just have to unpack it, wrap off the paper, and wow, it's pure bhakti. And then it's there. So that's causeless knowledge, causeless mercy. So why is it? Why will people misunderstand that bhakti is for lower class people or people who are not intelligent? Because it is so easy. But that's actually the sign of the opposite. It's the sign of the opposite. It's the sign of the easternmost advanced. Because we know the qualities in Kali Yuga are people who have no knowledge. Sumanda Matayo, people are lazy and misguided. Always disturbed, and there's so much suffering or dispute in this Kali Yuga. So how can people take to the processes of the other ages? How can people take to severe austerities? No one in this world is capable of performing that kind of austerities. Nobody's living for 100,000 years. So how can they do? They cannot. So Caitanya Mahaprabhu, by his causeless mercy, Krishna coming in the form of his most benevolent and most merciful expansion, or part of himself, Srimati Radharani, coming in the mood of Srimati Radharani, to give this causeless knowledge and causeless mercy to everyone, simply by following the easy process. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna, Namo most merciful incarnation, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Why is he so merciful? Krishna Prema Pradayate. He gives you Krishna Prema for free. There's no price. We often hear this, Caitanya Mahaprabhu came with the fruits of love of Godhead, but nobody was able to purchase, or even interested in purchasing, paying. So he said, okay, I give it for free. Here you have it. So that's the sign, it's the most advanced. Krishna is giving it for free to everyone, but you can see who's taking. Who is taking? People are not taking. Even ourselves to some degree, are not taking fully the process, right? Because it is, Prabhupada says one purport in Bhagavad Gita, I can't remember where. He says they might say it's easy, but they can't follow. They might say it's easy, but they cannot follow. So it's easy in the sense, everyone can chant Hare Krishna. Everyone can take prasadam, that's the easy part. Everyone can dance in kirtan. Everyone can do some little seva for Krishna. But to do it every day and be steady, trying really to endeavor to please Krishna in our activities, day after day after day, hour after hour, year after year, that might be difficult. But as we as we engage in devotional service, Chitta Darpana Marjanam, we get this detachment. The heart is purified, and we get more in contact with the soul and more in contact with Krishna just sitting next to us. And then it becomes gradually easier. Gradually it becomes easier, and then it becomes natural. Because it is natural. Prema Siddhi, it's a Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema. It's a Siddha, it's there always. But now it's temporarily covered. So the easy way to uncover the soul, to uncover the pure love that is there in our hearts, is Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. Just apply it. Just apply Bhakti Yoga. Or Prabhupada would often say, just add it to your life. You don't need to change anything. And this is Prabhupada saying here, right, you give up the negative doesn't mean you give up the positive. So again, Parandrishva, by doing the positive, the negative is just diminishing automatically. Like you pull in water in a cup, when it's completely full, there's no room for nothing else. No room for anything else. So we just need to make our hearts completely full with Krishna consciousness by the gradual process of hearing and chanting. And then we will end up achieving the highest result. Any comments or questions?
I was just thinking about Jhanavi Mataji. There is a very nice video with her memories of Srila Prabhupada in the very beginning, when she spoke of a certain question to Prabhupada, that how can we stop all these really low sinful actions, like or smoking or doing all these things, and he said the Krishna consciousness is so wonderful. You simply just do a little, and then it will just like wash away all the lower base tendencies. You don't worry, just go to Krishna, and everything will be so nice.
The tendency is to, you don't see your own advancement. Right? We were living so degraded lives before. I was living such a degraded life before. But then, like in time, you sort of like forget. It becomes very, not so prominent in our mind anymore, right? We forget the tendency to, like a child will never see himself growing, because it's such gradual. So the tendency is there to, like, I'm not making advancement, but we did make a lot of advancement, and we are making advancement. But it's according to Krishna's plan. The more we put into bhakti, the more the advancement will be there, and the easier the process of bhakti is. So how to give it up? That was a question Prabhupada often was asked. Right? How to give up? I cannot give up this, Prabhupada. How can I? But Prabhupada, the answer is to all these how can we questions. Yeah. How can we advance? How can we get more taste for chanting? It's simply by chanting, simply by following the process, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, and just being patient. Utsahanistha Taryat. We have to be very enthusiastic. We have to be endeavor with confidence, Nisthayat. And Dharyat, we have to be very patient. Because if these three aspects are not there, if you're not endeavoring, Krishna is also leaning back and saying, okay, you're not endeavoring, I'm not endeavoring. And if you're not utsahan, if you do not have any kind of enthusiasm, what can you achieve without enthusiasm? Nothing. You need some kind of enthusiasm to achieve anything, even in this material world. Yeah. And dharyat, if patience is not there, we expect like this kind of result. Because this is what we are used to in this material world. This is what the nature of sense gratification is. You get it immediately. But the process of bhakti, or all like very deep realizations, they do not come like that. It's a gradual process and come gradually. Like you take an education, it's not like you go one day to school and you have a degree. No, it takes a whole year, or in many cases it takes many years until you get your degree. It's a gradual process. You actually build it up. And then you get something for life. But you can go and buy an ice cream. But it comes like this, but it also goes like this. Right? And then the result you get from eating an ice cream, in the beginning it's it's nectar that then turns into poison. The nature of sense gratification. So again, it's just Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. It's just applying Bhakti Yoga, and then having these, being enthusiastic about it, endeavoring with confidence, and then being tired, being patient.
Yeah. The whole thing is like being positive and inspired, and also spontaneous. We tend to grow static in our chanting or taking prasadam. I often think that like a dog is more grateful than, for his food than I am for prasadam. It's this ungrateful daily process of just taking things for granted. It's a killer. Yeah.
Our health.
Yeah.
How often do we really thank Krishna for just being able to breathe? For the sun is out, or even when the sun is not out, right? It's still out, because otherwise we could not live. For the air to breathe. If all the air was sucked out of this room just now, what would be our consciousness? Air. That's the only thing, right? Nothing else would be of interest. And that's really what Krishna consciousness should be, that kind of enthusiasm. That's what we are striving for, that's what we are aiming for, having that kind of Eke Hakuranandana, just one thing I want. Not Bahu Shangas, all the material people, they have all Bahu Shangas, they have all these branches of interest, right? But devotees have one interest, Eke Hakuranandana, right? Just serving Krishna, Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. That's the devotee. So again, applying Bhakti, and then from there everything comes. And then Utsaham becomes even, that grows, and Nishtayat grows, and even Dharyat grows when we perform it practically and perform it daily. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Perhaps we should strive for becoming Krishna conscious, because that if we were Krishna conscious, like a gamble with our mind, yes, we are trying to become Krishna conscious, but if we really were Krishna conscious and missing Krishna, like the gopis or Srimati Radharani, and also especially Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the latter days of his life, he missed Krishna so much. He thought he would die all the time, and if we're not dying for Krishna right now, we are actually not Krishna conscious. So we should always be inspired. Or today I really want to feel how it's like to be Krishna conscious. Krishna, please bless me that I may please you in some way, doing all these daily activities, being covered in gross material conception of life. Please grant me just a drop of this, Instead of thinking, I've got it, I got prasadam, I'm chanting my rounds, I'm doing all the things, I'm Krishna conscious, I'm a devotee, Now I want to cultivate other devotees. Where are the neophytes, This mentality will just mess everything up, I think.
You're like a diseased person who's just got taken the medicine, but just a little of the disease is taken away, right? And now we think we are cured. But then if we are not very careful and still continue taking the medicine and following the procedure, whatever the doctor has given, then this disease comes back. Exactly. So Prabhupada says we need to uproot everything, right? Take away the very last attachment to Maya. And that again Krishna gives it.
Yeah. And it's not by trying to choke all the bad qualities and root it up and being very hard to yourself and others. It's just always remember Krishna and never forget him, and trying to be spontaneously always improving your process of pleasing Krishna, not bitter, not negation, but...
Visayamini matante nirahara siddhinam prasova shambhasopyasa parang dristvani vatate. That a person might still be attraction to the material world and is still engaged in the material world, and it's practically impossible to give it up in that negative restrictions. But parang dristva, by experiencing a higher taste. And that's what Prabhupada is emphasizing in this purport again and again. That is by the positive process of applying Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. By applying Bhakti Yoga, then the negative side effects just dwindle automatically, so to say automatically.
It's so nice.
So nice.
The story about the chocolate, what devotee wanted to give some chocolate to Prabhupada? It was his favorite. He was eating chocolates in secrecy. And so he wanted to give Prabhupada a very nice chocolate. He bought a luxurious chocolate and he wanted to give it to Prabhupada. And he said, we cannot take. But then instead of saying, have you been taking? We don't take. That's not according to the principle. He said, we don't take, very lovingly. And he brought him to the kitchen and they made halava together. And this Bhakta, he said, this disciple, he said that, I never tasted anything like this. And this halava, I'm still dying to taste it again because Prabhupada gave him a higher taste instead of chastising him very hard. Then he just brought him to the kitchen and served him actually something nice from his own hands.
Yeah.
And took this.
And that's also there, in Krishna consciousness, something else is instead all the time, right? Before, again, we were eating chocolate and eating all these. Now we have halava and sweet rice and puris, and so it's not difficult. It's just applying it. Okay. Grandarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.